Opening question. What is rugged individualism? This has nothing to, yeah, it has a little bit to do with what we're going to do. Not a lot. What is rugged individualism? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Just a good educated guess?
First to do something that other people don't do, maybe?
Yeah, kind of. It's risk-taking. So my two retreads in here that have been here with me before will know I say this a lot. But your relatives, your great-great-grandparents or whomever were the first, they're badasses. For some of us that are first or second generation, either you're the badass or your parents are badasses. Because they came here, didn't they? A lot of them didn't know the language, didn't know the culture. So what if I said you're going to move to Zimbabwe next week? What emotions do you feel? You're going into a culture that you don't know, you don't have a job there, you don't know about the food, the climate, any of that stuff. That's what this country was built upon, is that type of rugged individualism. And especially in the West, we've got a reputation for that. You know, the people that came out here and settled the West, you know, and gave diseases to all the natives, killed them off. Okay? So, does anybody know of any rugged individuals in your family tree? Like my grandfather was a pilot, one of the first pilots. And I believe he was in World War II. He's mean, but I believe so. Then on my mother's side, there's a George Washington Baker in the family because the dad actually was in George Washington's army. Named his kid after his general, George Washington. And then I also have a relative buried in the Hatfield and McCoy Cemetery in West Virginia on the McCoy side. So who were the Hatfields and McCoys? Ooh, we should do them this semester. That'd be fun. Who were they?
Hillbillies that fought each other.
Hillbillies that fought each other. So you call me a hillbilly?
I mean,
Yeah, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah. At least redneck for sure. Okay.
They fought in the Civil War, though.
Who did?
The Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah, they did. That's what kind of started that. Yeah, the Civil War scuffle, if you will. Okay. Speaking of Civil War, I may post a video. If you just kind of want to go back and catch up on that, I've got a real quick introduction to that. So going back into more modern times and modern issues, or going back to before the Federal Reserve and everything that's going on, do you have the right to stuff that doesn't belong to you? Does anybody agree that you do have a right to stuff that doesn't belong to you? What about health care? Uh-oh. Step on some toes now. Is health care a right? If so, why? If not, what is it? Well, after asking that first question, nobody wants to jump into this pool. I'm not going to attack you too hard. I want to have a discussion. Everybody got somebody's got to have an opinion on this.
In the United States?
Yeah. In Montrose? Yeah.
I don't know, it's weird to think of it as like, I feel like it is a right, because I work in healthcare,
Okay.
so.
So you've got a great perspective that I
yeah,
won't have. So
It's weird because.
so preach. I'm listening.
I don't know, a lot of it is education,
Okay.
a lot of it, and so how much we educate patients and how much teaching that we do, it's hard because it's like people wouldn't get that information any other way besides if they educated themselves. And if everyone is trying to educate themselves with anything medical, you know.
So the internet's got it right, I hope.
I don't know, not really. Honestly, no.
I was telling my doctor that. Well, I looked on the internet, and he just shakes his head. I'm like, I'm kidding.
It's like the worst thing that you could do. And I don't know, it's really hard because it's like people dedicate their lives to teach it
Yeah.
and to educate people. And then there's people who don't need to take advantage, there's people who take too much advantage, so, I don't know, there's a very fine line.
Anybody else? I mean, that's good insight, yeah.
I've never really had to worry about it because I've been in the military since I was 17. So
Okay, so you're part of a socialist organization?
I guess so.
I was too, that's what law enforcement was.
I don't know if
I'm
you
just
can't
saying
afford
it's
it,
hard
we
to-
can get, like, state will pay for it if you have low income. The state pays for everything.
Okay,
But if
and
you break that income level,
where's the state get the money?
us, the people who pay taxes.
Oh, okay. So you're taking somebody else's money to pay for.
That's where
Well,
you're
that's
going with
another
it.
thing that's hard too, is you feel like sometimes, I'm not saying anything about.
Hey, I
being on
agree with the
Medicaid.
fact that everybody should get some level of help. I'm not
Right.
arguing that at all. Nobody should be dying and bleeding in the street.
Well, and then there's people who, like, aren't able to do the scans they need to do, the treatments they need to do because their insurance won't cover it. And then there's people on Medicaid who are like, my back hurts, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and so they're able to use more once you do break that income level, so it's hard, like, if you have to be low income to be able to get the type of healthcare that you need,
Right.
instead of the type of healthcare that you think you need.
So you bring up a good point. Does that de-incentivize people to work hard? Do you know anybody that's making more money because of COVID on unemployment than if they
Yeah.
worked? Yeah. So sometimes, and a lot of times, when the government gets, and I worked for the government, so I'm talking from experience. When we get involved, we don't make things better always. There's a lot of unintended consequences. One of our jokes was, "Hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help you." And we'd laugh at that too, because we knew. Now, do you really think when I worked sex crimes, if I showed up and said I wanted to talk to you, that I was there to help you? Probably not, unless you were a victim or a victim's family member. Usually, I was there to take away your freedom for the rest of your life, probably. Okay. So, you know, I just want you to think a little bit critically as we move along with things, and realize that when you have rights, there's another side of that coin, and that's responsibility. And I think a lot of times we talk about rights. We got freedom of this and freedom of that. We have a right to health care, and we do to some level. And I want people to be healthy. I don't want those things to happen, but I also got to ask the other side of the coin, what are our responsibilities as citizens? And I'm going to go back to rugged individualism to tell you that I remember the older generation that absolutely refused to take any handouts from the government, that refused health care because they were too proud. And now we have and this goes into World War I, because this is the generation we're talking about today. But now you've got a generation that's probably going to protest if they don't get their $1,600 or $1,400, the rest of their stimulus money.